So I just got back from a really great cruise in the yellow Golf R, and I say that I have to shake the dust out of the car, but to be honest, it's as much shaking the dust off the car as shaking the dust out of my own brain, which is super healthy for me. It's one of those things that I do to relax. But anyway, we're not talking about that today. We are talking about training as a new technician, or really any technician. As I go through the list of complaints that technicians have about where they work, one of the at the top, when we get past flat rate and we get past my service advisor sucks and we get past I hate customers and all that other dumb crap, is training. Usually it comes out as, man, my boss sucks. He never even sends me to training. Okay, I've heard this so many times. I have said these words. Well, I probably didn't say my boss sucked because my boss was actually pretty good, but I have been in that mindset of I'm frustrated because I don't get sent to training. And my friends, let me tell you how that is an extremely lazy mindset to have. You may be wondering, Charles, why is it lazy if I'm mad that my boss won't send me to training? Because it's not your boss's job to make sure you get trained. What? It's not? No, it's not, my friends. It is your job as a technician. It is my job as a technician to own our own training and take it upon ourselves to make that happen. Now let's hit the pause button for a second and let me be very clear about what I'm saying. Do I think, in a perfect world, that your boss should be responsible for your training and you should get paid for training, and your boss should have a very extreme, enormous, crazy vested interest in you getting training? Of course I do. The better of a technician you are, the more trained you are, the better of a resource you're going to be for that shop. So for you managers out there that probably will never watch this, that don't think you need to worry about training your technicians, you suck, and you need to quit sucking and start taking a little bit more of an important role in your technicians and all your employees' training. I thought it was important that you guys know that I do think management should have an extremely integrated role in your training before y'all get on me and at me how wrong I am and it's your boss's job. So that's how I feel about it. Now, move on to why this is really your responsibility as a technician and not your boss's. Look, you are in charge of all of this. You're in charge of what time you get to work. You're in charge of what time you take lunch, whether you take lunch or not in a lot of cases. Now, Charles, I have to take lunch at this time. Yeah, but you're in charge of what you eat for lunch. You're in charge of whether you actually go or not most of the time. And yeah, there's some exceptions, but look, we are in charge of everything that we do. Why would training be any different? If you want to be an average level technician, then don't worry about it. Why are you watching this to begin with? If you want to just be an average technician, if you want to level up, be a really good technician, be that valuable resource to your dealership, be that insanely important part of your customer's vehicle ownership experience, you got to take it upon yourself. And what that means is not just waiting for that training class to come up and your boss to go, hey, Johnny, do you want to go to training this month? And you saying yes. There are essentially infinite number of training things that you can do. I worked at a dealership, so there was this level of training that you absolutely had to have. There were minimum requirements to retain your certification, and that was going to training, a class once a year, and doing a bunch of online resource training. Now, my boss on that one had a completely vested interest in it because the dealership would get kickbacks and bonuses based on level of employees that were certified every single year. So, of course, they're not going to miss out on that extra money, we'll call it, that the dealership would get. Anything beyond that was not his responsibility to make sure it gets done. It would be awesome if all bosses felt that way. But look, it is our responsibility as technicians. So if you find yourself sitting there thinking, man, my boss sucks because they never send me to training. First of all, let's think about why they're never sending you to training. Maybe you don't put in the extra effort for them to do the extra effort for you. We can have a conversation about how that may be foolish on their part. But what are you doing that's different or better or deserving of more training? Is it something? Is it nothing? I don't know. You have to evaluate that for yourself. But let's say your boss does send you to kind of the bare minimum of training. Is that enough for you? Maybe. Maybe you're such a great technician that that's enough for you. It's probably not true because I don't think any technician is good enough to not need training. And if you think you are, you're probably wrong. You're probably way wrong. All technicians need training. New stuff comes out all the time. Techniques change, vehicles change. There's always more we can know, right? I'm gonna be insanely blunt and honest about my own career. There was a lot of time where I was working at the dealership where I thought that if it wasn't from factory training, right? So it wasn't Volkswagen official training, that it was not relevant to me, it would not help me, and it was no good for me, and I didn't need to worry about it. Let me tell you how stupid that really was. And I didn't realize this until I broadened my horizons outside of my own little dealership bubble. See, one of the problems with being at the dealership for me was that I existed in this small, tiny ecosystem of the automotive world, and I didn't pay attention to anything outside of that. And that actually held me back. It made me a pretty good Volkswagen technician. Made me a pretty average technician though overall. And really today, there's no excuse not to get this extra training. Well, maybe like today in 2020 with everything being upside down, but today, right now, there's no excuse. Think about the level of access we all have to online training. Worldpac, CWI, they did so much and they still continue to do so much online training. Most of it might not be relevant for you. You may not care about GM ignition systems. I sure don't. But boy, there's probably something, two things in that class that you will learn that you can apply to whatever brand you're working on. And we can take that all the way up to the absolute highest level. If you go to something like vision training in the late winter, if you have to pay the $600 or whatever it is for the class and for the hotel and all your expenses, let me tell you, there's probably not a better training dollar that you could possibly, training and networking dollar, I should say, that you could possibly spend than going to that like 3 or 4 day training seminar. And Vision is just one. I've been to Vision, so I can like directly speak about it and how amazing it is. And boy, I have considered myself a pretty good technician, not a great, not like the upper elite level of technician. I'll never be that, I don't think. But I fancy myself a pretty decent technician. And boy, when I go there and I meet these other dudes and these other chicks that are like legit, I get this insane imposter syndrome feeling because they're so next tier, next level, whatever cliche crap you want to say, they're so good. Makes me feel stupid, which is awesome because I'd rather feel stupid in a room full of smart people than smart in a room full of stupid people. So we have all this access. Vision is just one of a ton of different training things. Worldpac, SSF, who I taught with for quite some time, all these really great resources that you can actually go, not right this second, but normally you can actually go into a class, have an instructor, get your hands dirty in such an engaged, awesome way that you're not gonna get, like, I love the instructors that work at Volkswagen and that I had over the years. Some of them are still, like, I consider friends. I consider some of my, like, top mentors that I've had throughout my career, but this is just different. There's something about it that's different. And I think it's because the guys that, and the girls and guys that I always had in class, they wanted to be there. They wanted this training. It wasn't like, I gotta do this so I get my little rubber stamp for the year or my boss made me. This is what they wanted. So they were far more engaged, far more exciting, had so much different experience than I had. It was just such a wonderful thing. Like, I was honored to, again, a little bit of imposter syndrome at times too, because these technicians were so good. I was honored to be able to stand in front of the class and do some level of instructing. But that's just one small piece that's available that's out there. Trained by Technicians, another great resource of dudes that are technicians currently training other technicians. They have a vested interest in wanting the industry to be better. They, like me, share this idea that being a technician is a really good job. And yeah, there's a lot that sucks about the automotive industry, but if you do it right, you can be very successful financially, very fulfilled in your soul, or if that's something you even care about for your job or your career, and make a true difference to people and make their car, I said this already once, and make their car ownership experience overall better. They have a YouTube channel, and when you go into the YouTube space, there's a lot of trash on YouTube. There's a lot of really like average at best and kind of poor, well, I don't even want to call it training, information, we'll say, in the YouTube space. And then there's some that are just so good. Go take a look at Scanner Danner's scope stuff that he puts out on YouTube. There's so many Facebook groups, and I don't like Facebook generally, but there's so many Facebook groups where guys are uploading waveforms for everything that comes in the door. Hans, thank you for all the hard work that you do. You specifically, my friend, thank you for all the hard work that you do in that front. There is literally, you guys, no excuse of why you're not taking on these resources that are available to become a better technician. The only reason, two reasons probably. One, you just don't want to and you don't care. And you know what? That's fine. I'm fine with that. You're gonna plateau. You're gonna hit a point in your career where you're probably bored, or maybe you just never cared anyway. And if that's you, okay, I'm good there. But if you're that type of person that's gonna hit that plateau and you're gonna get mad and hostile and bitter because your boss won't send you to training, we have to turn around and look at ourselves and go, what am I doing for this? I got some crap about asking for a raise that you shouldn't have to and all that. Yeah, perfect world, you shouldn't. But guess what? This ain't perfect. If you want that training, if you want to be more educated than you are, get more experience than you are, and not say dumb things like, well, I didn't go to training, so I'm not working on that car. You have to own this. This is your responsibility. It sucks you have to pay for it. It really does. No doubt. But you know what? You bought that $600 Snap-on gun, didn't you? You bought that $2,000 roll cart, didn't you? You bought that $20,000, $30,000 Mr. Big Snap-on box, didn't you? What do you think is going to make you more money in your career? What do you think is going to be more beneficial to you long-term in your career? A really nice, awesome, cool Snap-on toolbox, which is great. I think it's great. I think they make some of the best toolboxes on the planet. And I'm not hating on you if you have one. I had one for most of my career, so I get it. Or buying a cheaper toolbox or a used toolbox and spending some of that money on educating yourself. If I have to say any more than that, and you don't immediately go, oh, it's education, of course, you probably missed the whole point of the video anyway, so click on to something else and go watch another video that's probably better than this one anyway. We get these blinders on as technicians, and when I say we, I'm generally speaking about myself, that I already know all the things that I need to know. I don't need to know anymore. When I need to know more, XYZ brand will come out of a class and tell me I need to know more. You guys, that is so lazy of a mindset. And I can say that with confidence because that was my mindset. It flat out was. And I'm okay with admitting that it was wrong. I like to say that I reserve the right to always be wrong at any point in time, and I reserve the right to change my mind whenever I want. And that was one thing where I was deadpan wrong. As I finish up, I want to explain to you guys why this is so important to me and why I feel like I'm coming across a little harsh about it, is that we as people tend to want to blame someone else for something that is lacking in our life, not just as a technician, but just in general. It's their fault that we don't have this. It's so-and-so's fault that we don't have this. I've had that mentality for a very brief moment in time. What I can tell you is it's sad. It's sad to see in other people. It's sad that we blame others for something that they don't deserve the blame for, because ultimately, we are the ones that are in charge of our actions. We are the ones that are in charge of our training and our knowledge and our education, and recognizing that maybe we are at a place that we don't belong, whether that's a bad shop or the industry as a whole. There's plenty of people in the industry that I think if they got out of the automotive industry would be 1,000 times happier. There's also a lot of people in the automotive industry that no matter what, if they won the lottery tomorrow and waved the wand and poof, got everything they ever wanted, they'd still find a way to be miserable. And I hate to see that, but I really believe that so much of that comes from not having a personal level of accountability for yourself and your actions. And when you begin down that path of personal accountability, because it is a path, you don't just flip the switch and become that way. You find that it's so gratifying because all the great things that happen are because of you. And all the terrible things that happen are because of choices that you made in your life. And that's okay. Surprisingly, it's okay. And it doesn't suck nearly as much for as nearly as long of a time as you might think. It sucks way less, in fact, than blaming your boss for 10 years that things at the shop are terrible, because you can just go, oh, that's my fault. Well, damn. The beauty of it when it's your fault and you recognize that and you accept that is that now you have the power to do something about it. When you blame your boss, you only have the power to bitch and complain and whine. and that's never gonna get you anywhere other than probably feeling pretty miserable. Kind of a weird turn at the end, but I want to sum it up with this. You are in charge of your training. Do not rely on your boss. Do not rely on your service advisor, your shop foreman, the owner of the company. Rely on no one else but the person that stares back to you in the mirror. It is all on you. If you have to pay for it, pay for it. It will be worth it. If it's not worth it, it's probably because you didn't put the work in to make it worth it. I think you'll often find that when it's your money that's on the line, when you're the one paying for it, you're gonna work harder and do more in that class than you would have if old boss man said, hey Johnny, you're going to training next week and you're forced to go. I want you guys to be better technicians. I wanna be a better technician. And more importantly, I want you to want to be a better technician. Training is such a vital part of that. Too many online resources, too many things out there to use it as an excuse to not do it. And you know what? A lot of that stuff is really good and it's free. Take advantage of it, leverage it, become a better technician, make more money, and do all the things just a little bit better. With that, I'm out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll link all the other New Technician playlist videos down in the description. If you have ideas for other topics that we can talk about for new technicians, drop that down in the comments. With that, I'm out. I'm gonna roll that way. Have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.